Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, friends and colleagues, and everybody out there who's maybe coming in for the first time or maybe who's a regular, really appreciate the fact that people are listening in. Today, got a great guest, as always, gentleman by the name of Patrick Hansen, and he's the Chief Executive Officer of Luxaviation Group. Now, without me selling your company, Patrick, if you just want to give us a little bit of a background history on your own organisation and what you've done previously.
Well, good morning, Chris. Good morning, everybody who listens in, and thanks for having me. Well, it's the first time I hear somebody saying he doesn't want to sell my company. So we have, over the past 10 years, we have built up Luxaviation, which was 10 years ago, or 11 years ago now, was a one-man show with one aircraft in Luxembourg. Yeah. And since then, we have grown on one hand organically, and the other hand, and most importantly, by buying companies around the world. And currently, we have a fleet of approximately 250 aircraft, 1,500 people, and we have 28 FBOs around.
Sorry, 28?
28 FBOs, fixed base operations, around the world. And I think that is, of course, for all of these people that are working for us, is a very uncertain time. The interesting bit, it's not just for us, but it's for the whole niche of business aviation on one hand, and I guess for the economy in general.
I know it's incredible. I mean, incredible is probably not the right word, but it's terrible. It's surprising, and it's also disappointing. And I think there'll be an awful lot of review and reevaluation afterwards when the when the tide starts to subside. But there needs to be an awful lot of lessons learned from this.
Well, I guess the first lesson for most people will be, I think, the word solidarity. I wouldn't be surprised if some weeks, months after this crisis, because there will be weeks and months after this crisis, all the countries will start with solidarity taxes. And I think that will be much more acceptable, because right now we notice that alone, not one company and not one country will go through it. And I think that will be the word of the day.
I think you're right. Solidarity and sustainability as well, because the way...
It's all the same. It's actually all the same.
Yeah, I'll take that. And the way the way people are relying now on certain parts of the world for so much, I think, to put too many eggs in one basket, and especially if that basket is built around being cheap, it's not the best way to conduct business.
Oh, well, I think the word cheap will change most likely in the upcoming weeks also. What is cheap?
Exactly.
We might understand that whatever is cheap, or whatever, we might have to add always a certain amount of premium onto it to make sure that everybody can get through it in the upcoming weeks and months ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, new learning and a new normal. Now, Patrick, with so many people, can you just explain to us now what actions have been taken from your business perspective?
Oh, well, we have some weeks almost now ago already, we started what we call the War Cabinet, where we got the senior executives together in order to see how can we put our company situation into a position where we will get through this. Luckily enough, I think we had the chance, if I may say so, it's certainly the wrong word, to have a glimpse into what happened in China, to foresee what would happen to the rest of the world, and we were not caught surprised by that in some way that other people might have been now surprised yesterday evening in UK.
Yeah.
So we got together and saw what is the most important thing, and ultimately what we figured out. Of course, cash is king. Client service needs to be still up where it has to be in our business, and certainly we have to stand together as a team and make sure that we get through this. And that is, I think, where one of the points which I think you might want to address is, of course, the team is a company, and the team is everybody in his location in our company. But on the other hand, I think the team today must be much larger than just one company. I think we have to go through this as an industry, because it will be a bloody a bloody a very, very cold wind blowing our face. And I think not one company or not one person can go through this in the industry alone. And that's why we said we have to start something to stand together and work together.
Okay, and that's a good shoe in now for the project that you've started. So can you explain a little bit about the project and how it came about and what you hope to achieve from it?
Well, one of the things was clearly the saying, we have a very diversified industry. There's so many players and a lot of small players, and it so happens that we are a bigger player in it, and that gives us the luxury, in a way, of having a certain set of administrative resources and even financial resources, which maybe not all the smaller players have. And this is not to be diminutive, because I think there's a lot of advantage in having smaller players around. And so at that moment, we said, how can we make sure that this industry will still be standing at the end of this crisis? Because I think there's a huge risk looming that there will be problems, and that will be bad on the industry and that's on every single player. So we said we open our administrative resources and to a certain extent our financial resources and help everybody we can. Now, we cannot help everybody all by ourselves. So that's why we also have invited various other industries players to participate. And those are the OEMs, those are the EBAA, those are the NBAA, those are the European Union, to say, how can we get through this together? So we have procurement offices with people around the world where we're dealing with the suppliers, seeing what can be done. We could potentially extend our payment terms to people who consider themselves today as competition, but ultimately, in the situation, we are not competing. We're trying to get through it together. So that's what we are trying to make available, our various resources. As it so happens, we have them and many don't.
Yeah. And from your perspective now, the amount of interest that you're getting and the amount of recognition, is that as expected?
Well, first of all, I'm not in it for recognition. I'm in it ultimately, to get through it.
Yeah, no, I don't mean personal recognition. I mean recognition for the value of the template and the program.
So we have gotten some traction. There is indeed some operators that have reached out to us, and I believe we are helping right now where we can. We have also helped some operators in some remote locations to help them in order to, or some parts to get to even buy fuel. So that is the stuff that we are doing. I also understand that initially there might still be some remaining worries about competition in it, but I think come 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, I believe everybody will understand the necessity for standing together, and I think that will subside.
I agree, and I think it needs to subside as well, because the yesterdays will never be the same. Now, how do you see the new normal? When things start to improve, A, in your specific business, and B, in your sector.
Well, I think we will be much more realizing, on one hand, how interdependent we are in between the various continents and regions. If we can imagine that a small bat somewhere has created a worldwide economic shutdown, that is quite impressive, and I think that we have to realize the fact that the other thing that will have certain impacts on our relations in society, and I think on solidarity. We have to understand that we have a certain responsibility in this world towards ourselves and our future generations. So that's where whole sustainability comes in. But I think we also have to realize that there will be huge economic downturn coming, and that is not good for anybody, actually.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's going to be some harsh realities. Now, one of the things that I said to you in the warm up discussion, Patrick, I just want to bring it in now, and obviously, quite rightly, neither of us are medical experts, but in my opinion, most things that go wrong, they don't get solved with the first attempt. So I think this is going to bounce back a little. So I think the workforces and management are going to have to be agile enough to appreciate that they're going to have to ramp up when the opportunity is there, and then they're possibly going to have to contract again when there's another such threat, until we've got to grips with this particular virus. How do you think that will pan out?
Well, I think we have that's the interesting thing. If I had told to anybody in our firm that we would be all working from remotely in a week, in a month, nobody would have believed it. And I think right now everybody is working from remotely. So I think that will have those capabilities will continue. I think we have in the industry, aviation industry or business aviation in general, we had always had, I think, a very good way to adapt to various situations when it comes to fluctuations. For the fact of the matter, we have always been very seasonal, be that the avios or in the flying. So I think there will not be that many changes, but I think we will not get out of this without changes to our lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think in some ways, like you just touched on it now, there was a sort of a reluctance, a sort of a, will they work from home if we allow people to work from home? But I think that's going to change now. And that in itself will put a lot less pressure on extra office space and extra costs. And I think, keeping people off the road, keeping people closer to home, not having to do such a long commute at the beginning and end of every day. So I think there's going to be a new way of thinking within the new normal as well.
Yeah, there's a likelihood of that. I don't want to be a futurologist or however you call that in things which I don't have a clue about. I believe, on the other hand, and that is, if there is a small light of hope at the end of the tunnel, I believe that at the end of the day, people might want to fly with business jets more often, because they realize that there's also a way to, isolate themselves. And I think that will still be a topic of the day coming in the future.
Yeah, I was going to come to that. There's this. I think there'll be a long-lasting fear or skepticism, and people will want to look at things a lot more closer. And I think you're probably right. I think a lot of people will be prepared to pay a little bit more for what they consider to be a safer, and I'm not talking now about the traditional aviation safety, but in a safer way of transport. So, yeah, I think you might be right.
I think there might be that element might be there. However, before we are jubilating about that potential future, I think first we have to get there.
Exactly.
That is because and I know that our industry in particular is very much correlated to the economy. So if economy is down, we are several times the same factor down.
Yeah.
So that is something which we have first to get through. And whoever thought, and I believe there were a lot of people thinking, me included, a few weeks ago, that this would be like a V-shaped rebound. I think this is going to be much more severe than that. And then we most likely looking at a longer period of time of an economic downturn here. So yes, there might be somewhere down the road a positive effect, but we have to get there, and that needs a lot of sacrifices from many people.
Yeah, and talking about people and sacrifices, now you've got 1,500 people in your organisation. With people, you get strange surprises. Thank heavens, more often than not, it's on a positive side. But there's also, things that surprise you, like some of the things that we're seeing on the television at the moment, and people who just will not accept good advice and the right things to do. It's incredible. But within your organisation, I'm sure you've seen now some really, really positive things from people. Have you got any examples of such?
Oh, I think we have the fact of the matter that, and that is the greatest thing actually. We have been keeping together this company still working over the last weeks. This is not done easily. That means that there's a lot of people working very hard, and actually harder every day, in order to get things running. And I cannot stress it more that it's just because of the talent and the dedication of everybody we see. And I think we should not look out just for the extraordinary action to say, oh, look what he did.
Yeah.
I think, or she did. I think it's the everyday getting up and making sure that in these difficult times when you do not know what is the outcome, that you continue working and try to do best for the client. I think that is always the positive side. So I do not think there is one action. There is a set of huge amounts of actions every day that's being done. I have gone through our statistics, KPIs this morning.
Yeah.
And I saw that we have had in one particular day alone 183 cancellations. Now, 183 cancellations, that's a huge amount of work, because that implies not just the sales push of a button and we cancel a flight. That means changing a whole lot on the operation schedule of the day. Do that 183 times a day. That's massive.
Yes.
And that is still being done while you're sitting from home or you're moving from home. So I think we should not underestimate the extraordinary length that people and our talent goes through it right now. And I'm sure that's not just with Luxaviation, but that is with most of the people in this industry.
Yeah, no, and across all industries, and especially that gives it's a good opportunity to to reflect on the incredible work that's being done by all the care workers, hospital staff, doctors, nurses, people who clean, people who just do caring, porters, every single person associated with what we have all taken for granted for far too long. Those people definitely need to be rewarded and recognised during and most definitely after this particular episode concludes.
That's the point. And so that goes to the point, there is not just one extraordinary action, there's so many extraordinary actions. And for many, many people who do not get normally rewards or recognitions, but this ultimately, when you see that there is people that are repatriated, somewhere there is somebody in a dispatch making sure that it's happening,
Yeah, no, you're right, exactly. Talking about repatriation, are you involved in any of that?
I think we are in certain countries involved in some of these things, but this is of course not our. I think our planes are not equipped to carry massive amounts of volumes or sick people. So that's not what we're able to do. But we do some flights where people are stuck on islands, and we repatriate them. Yes, of course.
Yeah. My goodness me, yeah, you forget about that, don't you? Some people might think it'd be better to be on an island.
Oh well, let's not complain about everything.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
so much to complain about. Let's not start about the weather also.
Exactly. Now, just coming back to your organisation and your group, how are you going to address ramping your people up when things do start to improve, or the pressures or the demands are on you again to to be back in operation or back in full swing?
Well, I think first of all it starts by not letting them go. So that is the right now we're looking at the well-being of the people, and when we talk about 1,500 people, we talk about 5,000 people that eat from the result of those people's work every morning.
Exactly.
And that is a responsibility that we're having. And so we are working right now with every government around the place where we are. How can we keep the people in the various measures that is available for us? When there is no measures, then how can we keep those people? And that is a task which is ongoing. I cannot yet see all the results because many countries come up with their solutions as we speak. We're working together with our suppliers, working together with our banks, our shareholders, to make sure that we can keep everybody, retain everybody, and be ready when we get back. Now, there's still been a lot of activity going on when it comes to preparing for the various stations over the last week. I suspect if this continues longer, then we spend time on improving all the things that we didn't find time before on. And there is a long list of items, and I'm sure everybody's putting his effort in order to come out from various points of view better as before. but it's a difficult task.
It's hugely difficult, but admirable that you're focusing on keeping the people and recognising that, for 1,500, there's at least 5,000 plus who rely on those people for all the things that they expect to do normally, day to day.
That's the point. There's breakfast.
Exactly. Yeah. No, very, very, very tough times. Now, Patrick, is there anything that for any of your team that are listening, is there anything you'd like to say to them?
Oh, I think we communicate with them through most of the normal internal channels, and I think keep it up. Keep it up. We get through this. That is not just meant to the people from my team that are listening to it, but it's actually meant to the whole industry. Yes, there will be some damages, but it's a question how we get through this, and ideally with pride and honor.
Exactly. No, that's another two very, very good solid words. So we got solidarity, sustainability, and now we got pride and honor. And people,
there we go.
Yeah, people need to be kinder to each other and respect each other, and also what everybody else is going through, and it affects people in different ways.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a tough.
So, and also for you, I think it must be a difficult time. So I think on one hand, you might have more people listening in because that's what they have more time to do. But on the other hand, I guess it's also a difficult time.
Yeah,
keeping the publication up. So
it is, because people are.
All the best to you also, all the courage.
No, that's really appreciated. Yeah, obviously people, they're different priorities with what they spend their money on, etc. And whether or not people are listening more now, I think, so many people are glued for so long to the news and the TV. And one of the things that I've found, and I've said to my kids, watch it in the morning and watch it not late at night, but watch it, early evening. And if there's any announcements, just keep your eye on it, but don't be fixated to it all day, because it just wears you down, and it just, gets you into a sort of a cloudy area instead of setting yourself a little target. And my wife, she's so good. She makes me so mad. She's up and out. She's got a schedule for everything. She's either in the garden, or she's painting, or she's fixing, or she's preparing. And she says to me, "Come on now, you got to get yourself in a schedule." But she's doing a brilliant job, and that's.
This is already a great opportunity to notice how other people do valuable work. That's something which you might not have noticed 4 weeks ago. That's already a good thing.
It is, and like, I've been on the road since I can't remember the first time I went abroad was probably 94 to work, and. We've been married 37 years now, and people say to me, "My God, they say it's fantastic." But we joke and we say it's a bit like dog years, because I've been away for so long. That's probably why we've survived for so long. But we're getting to know each other. We're getting to know each other again at the moment now. So hopefully she'll still keep with me. This
will be the surprise in 9 months, where we have the coronavirus crisis kids coming up. There's a whole new whole new generation for sure that we need to take care of.
Exactly, and new terms, pre-corona and post-corona and new normal, and it's going to be, well, it's just such an unexpected thing. Now, one thing, and I said earlier about not getting involved in politics, but the one thing that I do think is working really well now is the politicians and the leaders. They're actually coming out and showing that they can lead and they can make decisions, and in most of the cases, the decisions are pretty consistent and similar, and are all reflecting on looking after the people, which I think is fantastic. In the future, I'd like to see a bigger swing away from some of the areas that we've spent so much money on, and at the end of the day, wouldn't have an effect like this on the entire world, even if those areas went wrong. And I think now people have to just start focusing money on better things, and things that the whole human race needs. Now, whether that's from standards of cleanliness, whether it's from climate change, whether it's from just doing things better for each other, whatever it is, it's got to change, and they need to spend more money and more thoughts on that, because for all the arguing and the demonising between each political party, for an organisation or for a government to spend the money they're spending on the people now, it just goes to show what can be done if you plough enough resources, time, effort, and solidarity and money into something. And I've got a friend who's I was talking to him last night. He's on one of the high risk group of the 1 point whatever million, because he's got a very rare cancer. And, you know, what he was saying is, you know, if some of the money that had been spent on weapons and military and all this had been put into certain cancer treatments, they'd probably have come up with a cure by now.
Most likely. But you're almost arguing for a benign dictatorship, no?
No. Yeah, I mean, it might sound like that, and you know, capitalism and socialism and somewhere in between or somewhere from each other's cabinet, you know, makes a little bit more sense. Nothing is so straightforward, but
to a certain extent, it is easy to be one of the political leaders right now. I mean, you can do it completely wrong, or you can do what everybody else is doing, and then you do it right.
Yeah, that's true enough. That's another way of looking at it. Now all we've got to work out is who's the true leader.
Anyway, we'll see how this will figure out.
Yeah, difficult times. Now, you're obviously you're based from home. Are you at the moment?
I am actually standing in the office. Now, before you think that this is dangerous, I'm actually alone in the office. So I feel that here I can work quietly, and there's no risk for contagion here because there is nobody in the office.
Yeah, a strange thing to be doing, huh?
It is quite something. You're looking out of the window, and there is absolutely nobody, and the corridors are dark. But I think basically everyone should stay at home, or like if you're in the office all by yourself, I think it's an extension of home, and make sure that you follow the rules.
Yeah, it's funny what you said there about the office being an extension to home. I also think when this starts to change a little, I think people are they're gonna realise that there's other things. You know, there's reading, there's self-education, there's spending more time with your family. There's so many different things to be done. And whereas people used to say a work-life balance, I think that's going to swing the other way, and it's going to be a life-work balance definitely in the future.
Yeah, we'll figure out how easy it will be for the government to support everybody at home and for how long, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, but Patrick, listen, I'd just like to say thank you so much for your time. I wish you,
thank you, Chris, to you
and your organisation the utmost of success. And I think the fact that you're opening your arms, your doors to areas that you can specialise in and support smaller organisations and be that open, I think is admirable. I think it's a really, really good, positive example of what can be done and what should be done. And I hope you'll let us know how things work out. And please God, everybody will stay safe, and it will be back to some form of new normal in the very near future.
Thank you, Chris, for the nice words, and also all the best to you and to your family, to your wife and your kids, and to your team. And keep it on.
Thank you. Take care now, Patrick. All the very best.